there's so much misinformation on the internet about training, and then I see so many guys doing mistakes because it's just misleading. So today I'm gonna talk about these mistakes, and I have a 8th mistake that so many people make, and make sure to watch until the end of the video to learn about that. So the first mistake I see a lot of people making is wanting to do everything perfectly instead of doing it good. When it comes to training, I see so many people trying to have this optimized routine when they're only starting out, and tracking their calories perfectly to a T and all of that stuff. And ultimately, when you're starting out, it just leads to such an overload, and it makes the habit so much harder to stick to. So instead of trying to have the perfect routine and possibly quitting after some time, make sure to just do it pretty well. Have a routine you stick to. Have a routine for like 3 months and see how you progress, and then after you make some progress or you don't, then switch up the routine a little bit, and that's the way you should do it. The second mistake I see so many guys doing is doing just isolation exercises. Now, isolations are good to target a muscle or an imbalance, but the problem arises when you only do isolations. So I see so many guys who just go to the gym and just isolate their bicep, just do curls all workout, and they don't make progress because they're not training well. The real way of gaining muscle is by doing compound exercises that target more muscles at once. So make sure to start your workout with a compound exercise and then do your isolations. The third mistake I see guys making is overlooking form and technique because of their ego. You can't lift a heavy weight, and then people just start throwing like heavy weights around because they're not actually strong enough. And when you just use momentum to throw the weight around, your muscle isn't actually being worked in the full range of motion, which leads so many gains on the table. So the next time when you want to pick a weight up that's way too heavy for you, just leave your ego aside. Go with a weight you can do for 8 to 12 reps comfortably to failure, with good reps, with good form, and do that. And make sure you go with a slow upward motion, so 1 second up and 1 second squeeze at the top, and then slowly back down. That's the best way you can build actual muscle. Now the fourth one goes again with the last one, which is about the technique, and this is not doing full reps. I see so many people doing these half reps, and they have their place, but when you're just starting out, you shouldn't be doing half reps, because this again not going to build the muscle in the full range of motion, which leaves gains. And another problem I see here with training is that the people just don't go to failure. If you want to build muscle, actual muscle, you have to train to failure. There's no 2 reps to failure or 3 reps to failure, because you don't actually know when that is, unless you're very experienced. But usually you don't know between failure and not failure. Like, there's just a realistically you can only know when you've done 0% of effort or 100% of effort. You can't really know when you've done 70% or 80%, right? So because of that, you just have to go to failure. Also, if you don't go to failure, your muscle isn't going to be stimulated enough, broken down enough for it to recover. So always make sure to go to failure on the last set of your exercise. Now, the fifth one is again with perfectionism, and this one is about nutrition. So when you're starting out, yes, keep a healthy diet, avoid processed junk food, avoid seed oils, avoid avoids just food that is not good for you, like artificial sweeteners and all of that stuff, and eat a mainly whole food diet. But if you slip up sometimes, don't be too harsh on yourself. Like, dude, you're just starting out, you're building a habit, and if you slip up once, that's fine. Just make sure to be better next time, and slowly get out of the habit. And you don't need to track every calorie to a T, and you don't need to eat 200 grams of protein. Like, that's crazy. Eat like a normal person, eat at your maintenance or slightly above it, and you'll be fine. Because I know I had a friend in high school, and he started training, and he was making really good progress, right? He was like tracking all of his calories, and I would see him going to the store during lunchtime, and he would buy like this like salami roll, and like a half a kilo salami. He would just eat all of that, which is just craziness, because he needed the protein, right? And yeah, props to him, like he was making really good progress. But then like after a year, I asked him, hey, are you still working out? And he said, no, I'm not. And well, he lost motivation because he went too hard at the start. He didn't build a habit, and ultimately just going perfectly in full force just most of the time leaves you exhausted, and you quit unless you have super high drive. So if you don't have that, and realistically most people don't, just relax a little bit. Still put in good effort, but when you miss a day, or because of life, or you don't eat the perfect calories for a day, that's fine. You're learning, and you make mistakes, and you're adjusting, and until you're just going in the right direction, that's great. That's enough. And over time, that's how you're actually gonna make good progress. The sixth mistake I see so many people making is just restricting the calories so much. And it might get you lean, and that's great. You can look shredded for summer. But ultimately, when you restrict calories too much, your body just doesn't have enough fuel, enough energy, and ultimately you're just gonna go and feel like shit. And when that happens, you lose motivation, and you feel lethargic, and you could also just lose motivation for the gym, and wreck your hormones and so much more. So when going on a cut, make sure to not restrict your calories too much. 100 calorie deficit is fine, but what I would actually recommend is staying in your maintenance and just doing more cardio. You don't have to run a marathon, but just doing enough steps, like 10k steps per day. And over time, like if you just stay in a maintenance and do enough movement, enough cardio, eat the right foods, over time, like your body will adjust, and you can actually stay pretty decently lean, like in a healthy range lean all year round, just by doing that. But that's more for another video. The seventh mistake I see so many people make is that you are overtaking supplements. The truth is, most people don't really need supplements. Supplements are, supplements. You don't need them, and they just can add to your diet. But I see so many people that they just view supplements as a hallmark, or like a necessity in their diet, and that's not what they're supposed to do. They're just supposed to fix some imbalances. And the problem is, usually if you don't do blood work, you don't even know where you have imbalances. So if you don't know that, it is actually, I would advise you to not take supplements, because let's say you take zinc and it boosts testosterone, right? That's all great and good. But if you're not deficient in zinc, it could actually lower your T levels because you're creating another deficiency in another mineral. So definitely, at least when starting out and when you don't know what you're doing, avoid supplements because they're also just stressful on the liver. The liver has to metabolize all of that. So just make sure, to stay off of the supplements and just have a whole food diet. You don't need the protein powder, just, eat whole foods and it will cover you. But like if you need the micronutrients, eat some liver. Like liver is really good for that. Now the 8th and last mistake I see so many people make is not join my free community on Skool. I have a free community down in the link in the description where I post weekly valuable content, and I'm also working on a free ebook all about training. And on top of that, when you join, you get a free one-on-one call with me where I'll literally help you achieve your goals about training and health. So, if you're interested, make sure to join the description down below. See you there. Bye.